Welcome back to the 6th Gear Garage. This video is for all the Toyota fans, especially the owners of the 22R and the 22RE engines produced from 1985 to 1995. Let's say you tore down your engine and you were in a hurry. You threw all your bolts in a box, and now when it comes time to put on the timing cover, the water pump, and the oil pump, you don't know which bolt goes where. It's very important to get these bolts in the right places because there are a lot of different lengths, and if you use the wrong one in the wrong place, you could potentially damage and punch through the back of the timing cover, and when you do that, there's the opportunity to mix oil and coolant, which is never good for an engine. Let's say you're starting off with a freshly hot tanked block, which obviously I am not. Normally you would have your chain guides right here and your tensioner right here. Now let's take a look at this timing cover. There's one bolt on the back here I'm gonna have to take out before I can even put this on, and that's this bottom one. There's kind of three in a triangle shape. The lowest one, take it off, set it aside, it's gonna go through right there, and that will allow the cover to go on. Let me throw this in the back here, just to hold this in place for a minute. Let's start from the top and we'll work our way down. This is the bolt that comes through from the bottom of the cylinder head. This is the sneaky one that was probably covered in oil and you didn't see it when you tried to take off the timing cover. And this 12mm bolt is 2 1/8 inches long. This is an M8 by 50 metric bolt. You're going to want to put a little bit of RTV on this one when you do put it in. Next, let's look at these big boys here. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these guys right here are M10 by 60 bolts, and they get tightened down to 29 foot-pounds. Now these three here are all the same length. This one here is slightly longer. So do a quick measurement here. On this one we are at 2 3/16 inches, and this one here is 2 1/2 inches. So after you get those tightened down to 29 foot-pounds, let's move on to the next three largest bolts right here, here, and here. And these are M8 by 40. And they're all the same length of 1 1/2 inches. And these guys only get tightened down to 9 foot-pounds. And those are 12mm, by the way. Now there's two bolts down at the bottom. They're going to go up through the oil pan. And these guys are M8 by 16. And they're just under 1/2 inch long. Next, let's look at the oil pump. First, you're going to want to make sure your gasket is seated properly. And then the oil pump itself has 5 bolts. As you can see, we have two really long ones here. And these guys are M8 by 75. The two M8 by 75 bolts are 2 13/16 inches, and they also both get tightened down to 14 foot-pounds. Two more on the bottom here, and these two are M8 by 30. Those two are 1 16 inches, and this top one here is slightly longer than the other two at M8 by 35. And the top one is 1 3/16 inches. The M8 by 35 top bolt here gets 14 foot-pounds, and the two M8 by 30 bolts on the bottom of the oil pump also get 14 foot-pounds. This is actually a spare timing cover that I don't need, so I'll end up listing it for sale on my website along with other used OEM parts for my collection. Store link is in the description. Now for the water pump. Notice there's 3 studs sticking out of the cover here, and these have 10mm nuts on them. Take those off, and you'll notice there's one really long bolt in the middle here. Line that up. There we go. Measuring in at 3 1/8 inch, this M8 by 85 bolt goes right there all the way through the timing cover into the block. And it's 12mm, and it only gets tightened down to 9 foot-pounds. On the perimeter of the water pump, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts. And these are all M6 by 25, measuring in at 1 inch. And these are 10mm, and they only get tightened down to 6 foot-pounds. Now you probably don't have a torque wrench that's going to read accurate down to 6 foot-pounds. So what you can do is get yourself an inch-pound torque wrench and take that 6 foot-pounds and multiply it by 12 for 72 inches. And then that will get you 72 inch-pounds, which is going to be a lot easier to measure with something like this inch-pound torque wrench than a foot-pound torque wrench. And by the way, I got this at Harbor Freight. I think it was like 25 bucks. It's probably not as accurate as something more expensive, but it works. Now for these 3 10mm nuts. And these 3 guys also get tightened down to 6 foot-pounds. So we're almost done here. A couple more quick things. There is a water pipe that goes on the back of the timing cover right here, and it's held on with 2 M8 bolts. They're just about 3/4 of an inch. And these guys are 12mm. And last, over on the other side of the block, on the back of the timing cover, there's a water pipe that goes right here, and there's also that single bolt that I put in the very beginning just to hold the cover in place. Now the top bolt on the water pipe here has this extra washer on it, and it is 9/16 inch in length, and it's a 12mm. And the other 2 bolts that go on the bottom, they are both 3/4 inch in length, and they are also 12mm. I made a really nice diagram for my Toyota subscribers. It has all the specs that I just went over in this video. There's a link in the description to download it from my website, sixthgeargarage.net. So there's all the different bolts for the timing cover, and I hope that will help somebody reassembling their 22R or 22RE engine. Thanks for watching, and consider subscribing for more how-to videos, project vehicle updates, and Toyota content here at the 6th Gear Garage. Hey, there's a link to my store in the description where you'll find all kinds of rad Yoda merchandise like shirts, hoodies, posters, phone cases, and a lot more. Thanks to everyone out there who supports the channel. It really means a lot to me to see people wearing something I designed.